I have a story to help us understand this and to get the picture. It's a story told by a bricklayer. He had been injured on the job, and in order to process his disability claim, he was told he had to complete a form and to write up a description of how his injuries were sustained. Here's his story. I was working on the roof of a 4-story building and had the job of removing extra bricks from the roof and moving them to the sidewalk below. I decided, since there were several hundred pounds of bricks, it would not be efficient to carry them down. So instead, I filled a wooden barrel with pieces of broken brick. Then I tied a rope to the barrel, ran it through a pulley, and tied the other end of the rope down at the sidewalk level. I proceeded to push the barrel off the edge of the roof. Then I went down to the sidewalk and untied the other end of the rope. The 250-pound barrel was too much for my 140-pound body, so it began to descend fast. In my haste, I forgot to let go of the rope, so I rose fast. Somewhere between the second and third stories, I collided with the barrel hard. That caused an injury to my neck and shoulder. The barrel continued to descend, and I continued to ascend. And as I got to the top, my hand became caught between the rope and the pulley. That explains the broken thumb and index finger on my left hand. About that time, the barrel crashed into the ground and partially broke open, dumping its contents onto the sidewalk. Now, my 140-pound frame was heavier than the remaining parts of the barrel. So now I found I was descending fast. Of course, the barrel was coming up. So once again, I was struck by the barrel, thus explaining my bruised and broken ankle. I continued the descent fast and soon crashed into the brick pile, breaking my arm, 2 ribs, and a collarbone. I thought to myself, well, at last, it's over. And in a brief moment of clouded thinking, I let go of the rope. The barrel came down fast, thus explaining the concussion and stitches in my forehead. I hope you will honor my claim. Now, I don't think this is a true story, but I liked it anyway. The last question, however, on the form was this: what would you do differently if you were faced with the same task again? He answered, I would ask other people to help me lower the bricks. We need each other. We need each other. Obviously, the task was assigned was too much for the one man, and sometimes we call the difficulties in life burdens, and the Bible does too. And the Bible says interesting things about burdens. First thing it says about burdens is we are to help carry each other's burdens. Wow, that's pretty pointed, isn't it? Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. The word burden is barrows, not barrel, could be, but barrows. And it simply means a weight. It's the kind of weight that presses on us physically, makes a demand on our resources. It can be material and physical, or it can actually be emotional or spiritual. Emotional burdens are a weight also, aren't they? we are told that we should help carry those burdens of other people. But then the Bible says this, 3 verses later, we're also to carry our own burdens. This means that something that is carried or something to be borne, and the word phoraton is normally used in a metaphor rather than literally. But when the Pharisees placed heavy burdens on the people, that was a phoraton. It was a burden to be borne. Is there a contradiction in these two ideas, that we are to carry our own burdens, but we're to help carry the burdens of others? Is this contradictory? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think what the idea here is that we all have certain burdens that we have to bear in this life, which we have to bear ourselves. I describe it sometimes this way. I should carry my own bearable burdens. I shouldn't necessarily weigh somebody else down with every burden that I have. But what about the heavy burdens? What about when they're just too heavy? By the way, Christ said this. He said of a burden, pick up your cross and follow me. That's a burden, isn't it? Now, I know this, friends. Some of you have borne burdens that I have never been asked to bear. At times, it may even seem unfair how some people seem to have so many more burdens than other people. And these words convey again the idea that, yeah, we have burdens that we have to bear on our own. But like the bricklayer, there's times we just can't do it. Isn't that true? There's times we just can't carry it alone. And we need backup. If the man in the barrel story would have asked for the assistance of 4 200-pound men, there would have been no injuries, no problems. And friends, when our burdens are more than we can bear, we need to turn to others and ask for help. Now, I know, by the way, I've heard through the years in the church, oh, I get so tired of people saying, if you need any help, just call me. Well, why? Why should that be a problem? If somebody says, if I can do anything, call me, don't we think they mean it? Now, we'll find out if we call, right? If they don't mean it, we'll learn that. But we shouldn't just assume that people don't mean it. But if we have a need, we need to let people know. Because otherwise they're not going to necessarily know. That's what prayer in the church is often about. We help bear each other's burdens through prayer. That's one of the ways only. But I think there's something else about burdens that we need to recognize. And we may not always feel this way. I get it. But I don't believe that God will ever overload us. Jesus said, take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So if we can't go it alone, we need to know that we can ask for help. We need to recognize that we have a need for each other. Neither our hands, our feet, or our head can afford to tell the body, I have no need of you. We all need each other. We all need God. There might be times when we are tired or just feeling overworked. There may be times when we think that the results are not worth all the effort that we put into something, and sometimes helping others carry their load may weigh heavily on us. But the Apostle Paul addresses those things as well when he says, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing this, that your labor in the Lord is never in vain. So friends, part of the body aspect is that we need each other. We need to be connected. That we need the arms, we need the hands, we need the feet, we need the eyes, we need the ears. We need all parts working together. And we need to remember there are times when people in the body may need help. We don't always have to ask if they need help. We may recognize that they need help. And if we do, we need to offer that. We need to step forward and say, hey, let me help with that. But we also need to be willing to ask for help, which sometimes we're not.